Today we're going to take the SQ sequencer in Ableton Standard and Suite and modify it to make it effectively into an infinite source of sequences and musical ideas. Let's have a quick listen, then we'll have a look what's going on and how to build it at the end. Let's have a quick look then at what we have in the rack. We have an instrument rack here with a set of macros. We have the SQ sequencer, which I believe is available from standard, Ableton Live standard upwards, so Suite and standard. It's not actually installed when you install Ableton Live, so you have to go here into your packs, and then you'll find it in the available packs here under the sequencers. And if you download the sequencers, then you will find here in your MIDI effects that it'll be added here. The SQ sequencer is added here. Okay, so you'll need to get that installed if you don't have it. Then we have the chord function, which is a MIDI effect. We'll come to that later. I'm using Drift to generate the sound, but you could drop in any synthesizer, any plugin here you want to use for sound generation. I'm just using one oscillator and a sine wave. We'll come to that as well. And then I have here some LFOs, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, which are controlling various functions in the sequencer, which we will come to. These 1, 5, 9, 13, and the numbers here 3, 7, they represent here these steps within the sequencer. So 1, 5, this LFO controls 1, 5, 9 and 13 here. Okay, we'll come to that in a second. Let's just have a look then what controls we have here and what we're controlling from the macros. I'll put a tone on. Hopefully it doesn't drive you too crazy. I'll just keep it very low. So we have here a sine being triggered in Drift, sine wave. It's playing every step at the moment. You have the way of controlling the pitch here. In the SQ sequencer, you can control the octave it's playing on. So if I click on here, I could now change the octave for the first step. So we can control octaves up and down. We can also control whether the step plays, turning off its velocity. Set it to 0 here. And we can control the length of each step. And that was a little bit longer now. So those are the controls here you have over the tone generation. You also have some additional ones here. We can change the root note. At the moment we're in E minor, I can change that. C minor. Let's go back to E minor. We can change the scale. Harmonic minor, melodic minor, hirojoshi. So we can have control over the scale. Back to a minor scale here, E minor. And we can change here the number of steps being played in the sequence. If I reduce this to 5. And let's put some pitches in very quickly. I'll just put them here. Oh, actually we can do here. With these I can control the pitch. Sequencer 1 controls 1, 5, 9, 13. Sequencer 2 controls 3, 7, 11, 15. But you will see we're only playing 5 tones, 5 steps before the sequencer resets. We can, with the sequencer direction, we can choose different directions here. This appears here. So there are a series of different steps. We can have random. You can't really read it anymore because of the macro control. But we have random. We can change the steps, change how it plays, alternate. So we have various controls. Let's go back to 16 steps and let's shut these off. Then we have, maybe we should just do the pitches again. Here we have, with these dials you can dial in various pitches. They'll always be in scale because we have the control of the scale here via the scale function, so it'll always play minor. So let's put that up. 8 semitones higher for those 4 notes. Let's go to 5 maybe. This one here, you'll see I can drop this down maybe an octave. And pitch 3. So you can see just with these static settings I can generate a sequence. If I then play with directions, random, whatever. Okay, so you see these are the settings you have. Now what makes it interesting, let's set this back to a straight forward sequence. What makes it interesting is once we start using the LFOs at the back here to control the sequences. So here we have sequence 1 rates, which is the LFO rate for LFO 1, 5, 9 and 13. And at a value of 82, if I show you the LFO, a value of 82, it completes its cycle, set to a sine wave, it completes its cycle in 1 bar. So let's just open this up a little bit, the depth here. So the rate is controlled here and the depth we're controlling here with the other macros. So let's open up the depth. Maybe we'll close them all down. And you'll see we start to modulate the pitches over 1 bar. So this takes 1 bar to complete its cycle. Let's go back to our velocity and double click on here. We set to 100. Okay, so we could then say decrease the steps to 5. Straight away we're getting different melodies. Play with the direction. And as I say, we can slow this down. We put 1 to 7, it's over 32 bars. These will change pitch very, very slowly. Let's speed that up a bit. I will be here waiting all day. There we go. So that's probably 4 or 5 bars there. It's changing pitch over. We can change the depth here. So we have a range of 12 semitones. Okay, so we see what's happening there, but things get interesting if I introduce a second series of notes, which is controlled by LFO 2 here. So we introduce here these notes here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 and 16 here. Oh, excuse me. That is 3 being played, so it must be this one here. Sorry, I've misnamed them. Okay, doesn't matter. So we introduce another LFO. Maybe speed this one up a little bit. And you see they have different ranges, so they don't play the same range of notes. Now, what happens if we introduce the third one, where we get an even more complex sequence? At the moment, they're all set to 82 for their rate, so that's 1 bar. And maybe I'll set this one, I don't know, let's see if I remember, 73, I think. It's half notes. So now they're running at different speeds. We can set this one maybe to 2 bars, which I think I made a note of these in 94. So sequence 1 is running at 2 bars, resetting every 2 bars. Sequence 2 every 1 bar, and this every half a bar. Okay, so that's what's happening. We can now, of course, if we wanted to, with this function here, chord, which I've set to a chord here, turn on a chord. You could set these, I only have 2 additional notes here, set them how you like. If you wanted to, you can click here on the dice and randomize the velocity values for each step, or the length, or set them individually, however you like. So I'm running at 50 BPM, it's a very slow sequence at the moment, just so I can demonstrate it to you. Turn off the chord again. So we can open up the step numbers. Let's go to 16. And you simply just have to, oh yeah, we can, sorry, one thing, we can actually offset these as well. So let's set the depth to 0, again for the sequence, build a new sequence, 16. But this time we'll use some offsets. So I don't know, maybe 9 semitones here, so it'll start from this position to do its oscillation. This one be +5. And now once we start moving these, they'll start from that position here where they've been set to, so you get a different sequence. So it's literally an endless, there are endless possibilities to the sequences you can generate. And they always repeat themselves as well, so it's not random in any way. Well, slightly random, but I think you get the idea. One final thing before we go to the build, which I didn't mention, and that's these macros here. And it's just very simple. It's controlling this LFO here, sequence steps at the back, LFO sequence steps, and that allows control of modulating the number of steps. So if we open this up, you see this starts to swing. So I put this to a central position, let's say 8 steps. It'll now swing between these 2 values. So see, we get 11 and sometimes less. So it randomizes the number of steps. And with this function, you can control the shape of the LFO, random LFO or backwards alternating, etc. So that's just wanted to clear that up. Okay, let's just go to the build then. Okay, so I've kept the original instrument rack. You find those in instrument rack. You can just drag it in or double click if you're on a new MIDI channel, you need a MIDI channel to have this functioning. I've also kept the 4 LFOs simply to speed things up because they're labeled and I can set up the instrument that way. I've reset them though to their original values. So the first thing we're going to need to drop in under audio effects are the, excuse me, under MIDI effects are the chord function, which we just drop in front of drift. I've kept drift as well. This is the instrument I'm using. You could choose another instrument, just delete it, put a new one in, or select whichever instrument tone generator you want. So I've got chord in here. We also need the SQ sequencer, which, as I explained, you have to download separately. It's not installed with Ableton Live Standard or Suite as standard. You have to install it separately. Okay, so we've got those in. The first thing we want to do then, set up then some of the simpler macros. So we will map here. Oh, actually, first of all, you must activate these. We'll set this up first. You need to activate these links here, which activate the ability to adjust length and direction for these channels. And then we need to switch to 16. So let's get these mapped. We map here this number 4, the length here to the sequence of the step number of steps. We do that for all of the channels here, pitch, octave, velocity, etc. We'll map all of those to the same macro. Then we'll map the direction to the sequencer direction here for all of the 4 lanes again. And that should be okay now. So we have control over the, if I pull that down, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, there you go, 1, 2, 3. So that's working, and this should work as well, changing the directions. Okay, that's done. We can also map very quickly here the scale. That's this here, chromatic, map that. And the root note, map that. We'll set that to a 7, which is a minor. And this we can, I don't know what we're on E, were we? Let's go E minor. So that's set up. Now, the next thing you have to do, and it's important you do this in this sequence, you can't map these until we've mapped the LFO to the sequencer. So let's go and set up our LFOs. If you don't map these first, then you have the problem. If you've already connected the macros to these settings here, you have a problem. You can't map the LFOs. So we have to map the LFOs first. Now, these numbers 1, 5, 9, 13 represent the steps, 3, 7, 11, 15. So let's get these set up. I'll show you the first one. We need to select musical divisions here. Do that for all of them. Okay, they're set. And so with the mapping 1, 5, 9, 13, click here, press the 1 here for the pitch. That's mapped. That's controlling that note. See it moving up and down. Then we need to open this little door here, little option here, and we need to map 5, 9, and 13. Step 5, 9, and 13. Okay, so they're mapped. That one's complete. Let's close that one. Now we need to repeat this, a little bit tedious, but no choice. We need to map this one here. 3, 7, 3, 7, 11, and 15. That one's done. You can soothe yourself with the animations. Okay, and then we have here, this one's a little bit longer, 2, 4, 6, 8. So the rest basically 2. Open this up. 4, 6, etc. 8, 10, and the last two 14 and 16. Okay, so they're mapped. So that's all done. Okay, so now all we need to do is to map our macro control to them. So we can go here and do a little bit of mapping here. We can map the sequencer 1 rate. Let's open these up again. We're going to need these. And close that actually, so we can see what's going on. So we need the rate here, mapped here, the depth here, mapped here, sequencer 1 depth. We do the same for sequencer 2, rate and depth, and for sequencer 3, rate and depth. Now we can control the modulation of these LFOs. What else do we have? Sequencer direction we've done. We need to set these pitch values, but I think before, yes, we'll do those actually now. The step rate, come to that. Let's do the pitch values. We can close these three. We don't need these three anymore. We need this one still. Okay, actually let's do this one here. We'll do the modulation of the step number, so that's quite easy to set up, and we'll close that. So we take the last LFO, we map that here to the step number, and then we map here the rate to the sequencer step modulation rate, the depth to the depth, and the shape of the LFO here to the shape. Okay, so that one is also set up now. We can close that, and we can close that. So the last thing we need to do, we switch these off to 0, is to set the static pitch values, if you like, these three here. So we have to do the same thing again, where we have to map this one here to control 15913. So this one here, we need to map this one to that, 5, 9, and 13 to this one here. That's done. So that's the first LFO. Second LFO is 3, 7, 11, 15. So 3 gets mapped to here. 7 map here. 11 and 15 map there. So 3, I think I've made a mistake here with number 3, so let's just delete that. 3, yes, so let's delete that one, sorry, that should have been mapped to here. Wonder why we had one showing up on here. So number 3 should be mapped here. So to this one here, it's 3, 7, 11, 15. This one is 1, 5, 9, 13, and the final values go onto sequencer 3. So that's easy. They should, yes, okay. Map those. And that gives us our offset for the pitches if we need them. And I think we're getting close to being finished. Let's have a look. Close that. We've done all the scales, so these offsets should work now. Yes, perfect. That works, yes, perfect. And this one works perfect. They're working. So we can turn off the modulation here. That's modulating away. Turn that down. 16 steps. Okay, so that's everything set up. Let's put a tone on. And then off we go. Okay, as I say, as always, I hope this has been useful to somebody. They can make use of it with their music. Have some creative fun. The chord here, you can set up however you like. I think I had +7. -12. With chord, without chord. Set this up however you want. Okay, go and have some fun. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you for watching. Take care.